Chapter 1. Elias Cord sat in his apartment, looking at photos that weren't really there. The holograms flickered like bad TV reception, showing him and Sarah at some beach 20 years back. The kids when they still thought he knew everything. Now the kids lived in other cities with kids of their own, and Sarah was 3 years in the ground. The city hummed outside his window, all chrome and light, but it felt empty as a kicked can. The doorbell made a sound like wind chimes. Elias wasn't expecting anybody. At 78, people mostly left you alone, which was fine by him most days. Today wasn't most days. The man at the door wore a suit that probably cost more than Elias's pension. Smile like he was selling something you'd want to buy. "Mr. Cord, I'm Maxwell Chen. Mind if I come in?" Elias looked him over. "You selling something?" "In a way." Maxwell held up his hand, and a hologram appeared above his palm, some kind of corporate logo. "I represent Droid, Incorporated." "Never heard of it." "You will." Something about the way he said it made Elias step aside. Maxwell settled into the chair across from him like he belonged there. His eyes moved around the room, taking in the photos, the worn furniture, the life of a man running out of time. "You're dying, Mr. Cord." "We all are." "You more than most. The cancer's back, isn't it?" Elias felt something cold move through his chest. He hadn't told anybody about the diagnosis. Hell, he'd barely told himself. "How do you—" "We keep track of people like you. Intelligent, experienced, useful." Maxwell leaned forward. "What if I told you there was another way?" "I'd say you're full of shit." Maxwell laughed. It sounded like he meant it. "Fair enough, but hear me out. What's the one thing everyone wants but nobody can have?" "Time." "Exactly." Maxwell gestured, and another hologram appeared on the coffee table. A contract. "We can give you all the time in the world." Chapter 2. "Immortality," Maxwell said, like he was offering a beer. Elias stared at the contract floating between them. The words kept shifting, clauses appearing and disappearing like they were written in smoke. "That's a hell of a sales pitch." "It's not a pitch. It's an offer." Maxwell touched something on his wrist, and the contract solidified. Real paper now, thick and important looking. Full body replacement, cybernetic enhancement. You keep your memories, your personality, everything that makes you you. And in exchange, 20 years of service. Think of it as a very generous employee benefits package. Elias picked up the contract. It was heavier than it looked. "Service doing what?" "Security consulting, conflict resolution. Nothing you haven't done before, just with better equipment." That was true enough. Elias had spent 30 years with corporate security before retiring. He knew how to handle problems that couldn't be solved with a handshake and a smile. "Why me?" "Experience. You've seen things, done things, made the hard choices." Maxwell stood up, walked to the window. "We need people who understand that sometimes the right thing and the easy thing are not the same thing." Outside, the city sparkled like broken glass, beautiful and sharp enough to cut you. "The cancer's in your spine now," Maxwell said without turning around. 6 months, maybe 8 if you're lucky. That's not enough time to see your grandchildren graduate, is it? It wasn't. Tommy was only 16, and Lisa had just started high school. They barely knew him as it was. "What's the catch?" "No catch, just consequences." Maxwell turned back to him. "You won't be human anymore. Not technically. Some people find that harder to deal with than others." Elias looked at the photos again. Sarah smiling at him from across 20 years, and a grave. The kids when they still called him Daddy. "I need to think about it." "Of course." Maxwell headed for the door. "But don't think too long. Time's the one thing you can't negotiate with." After he left, Elias sat in the dark and listened to the city breathe. Chapter 3. Dr. Miranda Webb had been Elias's doctor for 15 years. She was the kind of woman who could tell you that you were dying and make you feel grateful for the honesty. "It's aggressive," she said, pointing at the scan on her wall screen. The tumor looked like a spider spreading its legs through his spine. "We can manage the pain, maybe slow it down, but it's got me." "I'm sorry, Elias." He'd come here hoping she'd tell him Maxwell was full of shit, that there was some new treatment, some miracle drug. Instead, she confirmed what he already knew. "There is one thing," she said, closing the file. "Someone called yesterday asking about you, corporate type, said they were interested in your medical history. What did you tell them?" "Nothing. Doctor-patient confidentiality." She paused. But they already knew quite a bit. Walking home, Elias tried to remember when he'd first started feeling tired all the time, when the ache in his back had gone from annoying to constant, when he'd stopped looking forward to tomorrow. His phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. "Offer expires in 72 hours. Elias deleted it and kept walking. Chapter 4. "You look terrible, Grandpa." Tommy was 17 now, tall and skinny with Sarah's eyes. He'd driven up from the university for one of their monthly dinners, which had become more like quarterly dinners, which were about to become memorial services if Elias didn't do something. "Thanks for the honesty. Mom says I get it from you." Tommy poked at his synth protein burger. "You feeling okay?" Elias had raised 2 kids and buried a wife. He knew when someone was fishing. "Your mother send you to check on me?" "Maybe." Tommy grinned. "She worries. Says you've been acting weird." "Weird how?" "I don't know. Asking questions about me and Lisa. Like what we want to do with our lives, what's important to us." Tommy shrugged. "Grandpa stuff, I guess." Elias had been trying to figure out what he'd be missing if he stayed, what he'd be leaving behind if he went. The answer kept changing. "What do you want to do with your life?" "See, there you go again." But Tommy was smiling. "I want to build things. Cities, maybe. Or spaceships. Something that lasts." "That's good. Building's important." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. The restaurant was one of those retro places that served real meat and played music from the previous century. Elias liked it because it reminded him of being young. "Grandpa, you ever think about dying?" The question hit him like cold water. "Why?" "I don't know. Jenny's grandfather died last month, and she said he kept talking about all the things he wished he'd done different. Made me wonder if old people spend a lot of time thinking about that stuff." "Some do." "What about you?" Elias looked at his grandson, Sarah's eyes in a young man's face, all the possibilities in the world spread out in front of him like a map. "I think about what I'd miss if I was gone." "Like what?" "Watching you build those spaceships." Chapter 5. 3 a.m. was when the pain was worst. Elias lay in bed, listening to his body break down cell by cell. The medication helped, but it also made his thoughts fuzzy, turned his memories into something viewed through dirty glass. He got up, made coffee, sat at his kitchen table with Maxwell's contract. In the morning light, it looked less like salvation and more like what it was: a legal document binding him to 20 years of service to a company he'd never heard of. His phone showed 17 missed calls from his daughter, Rebecca. She lived in New Mumbai with her husband and Lisa, ran some kind of consulting firm that did things with data Elias didn't understand. Smart woman, but she worried too much. Got that from her mother. He called her back. "Dad, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all night." "I'm fine, Becky. Tommy said you looked sick when he saw you yesterday. Really sick." Elias closed his eyes. His grandson had good instincts. "I'm okay. Don't lie to me." Rebecca's voice had that edge it got when she was scared. "What's wrong?" He could tell her about the cancer. Watch her drop everything to fly back and hold his hand while he died. He could tell her about Maxwell's offer and watch her think he'd lost his mind. Or he could lie. Just tired. Getting old. Dad, I love you, Becky. Take care of that girl of yours. He hung up before she could say anything else. Chapter 6. The Droid, Inc. building wasn't hard to find once Elias knew what to look for. 40 stories of mirrored glass in the financial district. No signs or logos visible from the street. Anonymous money in an anonymous tower. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who looked like he could bench press a car. His badge said his name was Marcus, but his eyes said he was something more than human. Mr. Cord, Mr. Chen is expecting you. The elevator moved fast enough to make Elias's ears pop. Maxwell was waiting on the 35th floor, looking out at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. I wasn't sure you'd come. I want to see what I'm signing up for. Maxwell smiled. Of course you do. The tour started in research and development. Scientists in clean suits worked on things that looked like expensive mannequins, plugging cables into skull ports and running diagnostics on synthetic skin. The bodies were perfect. No scars, no age lines, no evidence of lives lived. Custom built, Maxwell explained. We map your neural patterns, transfer your memories, your personality. You wake up in a body that will never age, never get sick, never wear out. One of the scientists looked up from her work. Dr. Sarah Kim, according to her badge. She had the kind of intense focus that came from doing work that mattered. The consciousness transfer is seamless, she said. From your perspective, you'll go to sleep and wake up improved. What happens to the original? She exchanged a look with Maxwell. The original body is retired. You mean it dies? It was dying anyway, Maxwell said. We're just changing the timeline. Chapter 6. The Droid, Inc. building wasn't hard to find once Elias knew what to look for. 40 stories of mirrored glass in the financial district. No signs or logos visible from the street. Anonymous money in an anonymous tower. The lobby was empty except for a security guard who looked like he could bench press a car. His badge said his name was Marcus, but his eyes said he was something more than human. Mr. Cord, Mr. Chen is expecting you. The elevator moved fast enough to make Elias's ears pop. Maxwell was waiting on the 35th floor, looking out at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. I wasn't sure you'd come. I want to see what I'm signing up for. Maxwell smiled. Of course you do. The tour started in research and development. Scientists in clean suits worked on things that looked like expensive mannequins, plugging cables into skull ports and running diagnostics on synthetic skin. The bodies were perfect. No scars, no age lines, no evidence of lives lived. Custom built, Maxwell explained. We map your neural patterns, transfer your memories, your personality. You wake up in a body that will never age, never get sick, never wear out. One of the scientists looked up from her work. Dr. Sarah Kim, according to her badge. She had the kind of intense focus that came from doing work that mattered. The consciousness transfer is seamless, she said. From your perspective, you'll go to sleep and wake up improved. What happens to the original? She exchanged a look with Maxwell. The original body is retired. You mean it dies? It was dying anyway, Maxwell said. We're just changing the timeline. Chapter 7. The manufacturing floor was where they built the bodies. Assembly lines staffed by robots, building robots, each one customized for its future occupant. Elias watched them work with fascination and growing unease. How many have you made? Several hundred. We've been in operation for 3 years now. Where are they all? Maxwell led him to another window. Below, the city stretched out in all directions, millions of people going about their lives. Most of them are down there, living, working, serving. Serving who? The clients who contracted their services, corporate security mostly, some government work, a few private contracts. They passed a quality control station where technicians tested synthetic muscle fibers and artificial nervous systems. Everything had to work perfectly. There were no recalls in Immortality. "What about free will?" Elias asked. "What about it? If someone pays for 20 years of my service, what happens if I decide I don't want to serve?" Maxwell stopped walking. "That would be breach of contract. And then? Then we'd have a problem." Chapter 8. The common room looked like a corporate break room, all neutral colors and comfortable chairs. The people sitting in it looked normal enough until you noticed their eyes. Too steady, too focused. They moved with a precision that was almost mechanical. "These are some of our earlier clients," Maxwell said. "They volunteered to answer any questions you might have." A woman who looked about 35 stood up. Her handshake was firm, but not quite warm enough. "I'm Unit 7, she said. "Elena Rodriguez, originally. I died of heart failure 4 years ago." "Died?" "Clinically. Cardiac arrest brought on by congenital arrhythmia. I was an architect, built hospitals, schools, important work." Her voice had a slight mechanical quality, like she was reading from a script. "Do you regret it?" "Regret what?" "The choice. Coming back." Elena considered the question with the same intensity she might have used to calculate load-bearing weights. "I serve now. Service is purpose. Purpose is satisfying." A man joined them, late 40s, athletic build, eyes like blue marbles. "Unit 12, he introduced himself. "James Park, former military contractor. Died in a hover car accident 2 years ago." "What's it like?" Elias asked. "Efficient," James said. "No more pain, no more uncertainty. We do what we're designed to do." "Which is?" "Whatever needs doing." Chapter 9. That night, Elias dreamed about Sarah. She was young again, 25, and laughing at something he'd said. They were in their first apartment, the one with the leaky faucet and the view of the alley. "You're thinking about it," she said. "About what?" "Living forever. It's written all over your face." In the dream, she could read him like she always had. "The kids need their grandfather." "Do they? Or do you need to be needed?" She touched his face the way she used to when he was being stubborn about something. "Death isn't the enemy, Eli. It's just the end of the story." "I'm not ready for the story to end." "You never were." He woke up with tears on his face and the taste of regret in his mouth. Chapter 10. Maxwell was waiting in his apartment when Elias got back from his morning walk. The man had a talent for showing up uninvited. 48 hours left, Maxwell said without preamble. "I know how to tell time." "Do you? Because from where I sit, you're running out of it pretty fast." Elias made coffee for both of them, a reflex left over from a lifetime of being polite to guests, even unwanted ones. "Those people you showed me yesterday, Elena and James, are they happy?" Maxwell sipped his coffee. "Happiness is a human concept. They've transcended that." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer that matters." Maxwell set down his cup. "You're thinking like a human, Elias. Small thoughts about small things. What will I miss? What will I lose? You should be thinking about what you'll gain, which is time. All the time in the world to watch your grandchildren grow up, to see what humanity becomes. You'll be part of the future instead of a footnote in the past." Outside, it started to rain. The drops hit the window like tiny fists. "What happens if I say no?" "You die. 6 months, maybe less. Your family mourns, the world moves on, and in 50 years, nobody remembers you ever existed." Maxwell stood up, straightened his perfect suit. "Immortality isn't a gift, Elias. It's a choice. The question is whether you're brave enough to make it."